Time for film breakdown, video analysis of the loss yesterday to the Commanders. Lance, it was one of the most disappointing, and in a season of disappointments, that might be one of the more disappointing performances that we've had.
Well, it's funny. Everybody talks about Watson, Cooper, secondary, all kinds of stuff. For me, football always starts up front. And the reason the Browns have had success the last few years is they've been really good on both sides of the line, right? The offensive line, defensive line. Right now, those guys aren't playing at a high level. Now, there's been injury, especially in the offensive line, but there's also been a lack of play and lack of anchoring in and lack of, doing the things you need to do as a defensive lineman and as an offensive lineman to make yourself successful. The offensive line, for me, is the major concern on the offense. I understand Deshaun Watson. I understand Cooper. I understand all of that. But until that offensive line plays better, none of those other guys will improve. That's where it starts. It's got to get better up front on both sides of the ball.
All right, so let's take a look at a couple of the clips that you've taken. And along those lines, offensive line play and quarterback. So take us through this and what you see.
The first one here, you're going to see just a four-man rush, and for some reason, Zinter just gets beat, and Posick doesn't help. Next one, you're going to get a six-man rush, and you're going to watch the tailback. He's going to get blown right back into the quarterback. Now, that's not a lack of effort. That's just a lack of size. So, again, you're going to see the guy standing up. He beats Zinter inside and then Posick. So, it's just a four-man rush. And remember, when it's just a four-man rush, there's seven guys covering. Then it's just a really good pickup on the end zone copy. You're going to see everybody's picked up. Ford does a great job. He just gets run over. So, again, the other thing that you want to see is that when you look at the second clip here, is that it's a six-man pressure, and where are the ability to get rid of the ball quickly? There are none. So if you look right there, there's no one within 5 yards. So if there's a six-man pressure, there has to be a hot built in. So in these couple plays, you see how it's everybody. You see how they lost one-on-one matchups. You see how Watson doesn't get rid of the ball and holds it too long. You're going to see how they bring a six-man pressure and they just lose a one-on-one battle. Ford getting beat, I don't mind that getting beat at all. He stuck his nose in there the best he could. He got run over by a 240-pound linebacker. So you see all the things that need to go right in pass protection. Then you got to have some built-in hots so Watson can get rid of it. This is a total mess on so many levels, and this is what they got to fix moving forward.
Yeah, and the other thing is when you look at Ford in there, he's kind of upright, and you're going to lose that with a linebacker most of the time in the NFL. But I'm with you. That's again, it's not one thing with the pass protection. Watson looks bad on that. It's not like he held the ball. They didn't hold blocks long enough for him to get to the progression that he needed to.
Well, if you go back at that second clip where Ford really struggles, if you're going to be an undersized back, one of the things you can do is you can move up on the line of scrimmage. So you've seen the Browns do that now with their backs when they're chipping on the ends, where if you're going to get, that Louisville was 236 pounds. He's a big guy, 6'3", 240, right? So what you have to do is you have to eliminate the collision space, right? So if two cars are going to run into each other, you want them as close as they can be to limit the damage. And that's what you have to do as a back. So there's a simple scheme that I've seen at every level. I used to do all the times when I had a little running back. If you know they're coming with a six-man pressure, then move that guy up so that linebacker doesn't have such a running start at him. And that'll eliminate some of that size issue. So there's certain things they can do, certain things they are doing. They are trying to help the ends. They're not sitting doing nothing. They're not executing at a high level right now either.
So the second one on these, the points lost to the Commanders, and this one's been a recurring one. Inability to stop the run. What do you see here?
So there's two things that you have here, right? So, we're talking about the next, we talk about mistakes, but this is a gap scheme, and they're going to give up some gap schemes. So the first touchdown Robinson scored, it was on a crunch, which is a trap and a wham all at once. And they're going to see that a ton with out of the Ravens. And it's just the idea, this is a counter pool. So when you see it again, you're going to see the left guard and left tackle. Left guard's going to kick out, tackle gets up through. And when you are a gap penetrating team, you've got to tackle in the secondary and you've got to blow up these pullers. So the guys inside got to do a better job of getting upfield so these pullers don't get such a running start. Again, it's team defense. So if you're going to be in this gap penetrating defense, everybody's got to do their job. Everybody's got to penetrate their gap, or these big linemen get up on the second level and they cause issues. So this is a gap scheme. This is something I think the Browns should do. It's block down, kick out, very easy to run, very easy to teach. and you get these guys in space. But this is one of the things the Browns have really struggled with, is this gap schemes with people kicking them out.
All right, and you can be sure it's not going to get any easier on the ground coming up. You've got Saquon Barkley and the Philadelphia Eagles coming. Number 3 on this, repeated mistakes on defense. Take us through what you see here.
So first thing you're going to get is you're going to get the big play to McLaurin. Now, the reason this is a big play is because they got to be in unison. First of all, you're going to miss. They bring 6. You got to stay connected. But you're not thinking when you're bringing 6 that you're going to have to cover this long. So, again, they're both wrong. Here it is. They run a wham. They run a wham and a trap. It's called a crunch. So they don't tackle. So, again, you get a 6-man pressure. Delpit comes free. They don't make the play. Now these DBs are all in 0 coverage because they brought 6. There's only 5 left to cover 5. So these DBs now have to cover. So, again, they got an 8-man box. They do a good job of getting upfield. Delpit's free. He's got to make that tackle. Usually Delpit has been making that tackle. So you see the idea that the front has to match with the back. And the linemen have to make sure they get home so the DBs don't have to cover. I understand Ward got beat here, but that's a long time to cover. This is the tackle Delpit usually makes. You know, these are things that the Browns did last year as a defense that they're not doing very well, and things that they can improve on. So when Kevin Stefanski says we need to get better as a team, this is what he's talking about. Helping each other. This is more, to me, this is more on not getting home with a 6-man pressure and allowing him to get out of the pocket, and this is a missed tackle. So those are things they can fix moving forward.
Yeah, the missed tackling, it's been a problem. You know, the Raiders game particularly, it showed up, and I think it showed up again against the Commanders.
Well, if you see here, so when they go back to when you see this Robinson throw here, when you're in man coverage, you are really, the front 7 has to tackle because DBs are going to be running with motion. So when you see this next play, you're going to see Greg Newsome is going to run across in coverage, so that means there's no run support. Denzel Ward, he gets blocked by McCaffrey, but he's also covering McCaffrey. So if he's in zone, he can have his eyes more in the backfield. These guys are in man, so when McCaffrey releases, I've heard a lot of people say, what does Ward need to do here? Well, there's not a lot of Ward can do in that situation. So if you look, you're going to see Ward at the bottom of the screen get blocked. He's not sure if McCaffrey's going to run a route or if he's going to block him because he's in man coverage. Then you play zone and you get beat on some zone routes. So the key is they have to tackle in space, and they have to make sure that when they pressure, they get home and they tackle. That's what they did well last year.